Boom, we're live on Spreaker. Hello, everybody on Spreaker. We're getting up and running here, so bear with us. Boom. Going live. Getting some peeps on. Hello, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us here on this Tuesday night. Almost forgot what day it was.
It's almost Wednesday. It's real close.
Jake's getting us shared out there. Hope you guys had a nice evening. Indiana with a nice win. Michael, Jason, Josh, how are you guys, man? Thanks a lot for joining us. Appreciate you guys joining us. You guys are the for real. You guys are the for real fans. Kyle Moore. It's 11 o'clock. We got some for real fans joining us.
It's deep, 11:20. But that's how fun that was. I mean, we got some stuff to talk about. I'm excited.
Well, we might as well get going, everybody, because most people that's going to be listening to this is going to be listening to it on Wednesday, even though this is Tuesday when we're doing this. How hard is it to leave that atmosphere?
It was difficult.
Josh, that was like I expected, Josh, tonight. It was electric. There was the students were waiting outside before you could get in. Pete Clausen, my man. Hey, Kelly, how are you? Let's go ahead and get going. Appreciate everybody joining us. Welcome to After the Game with Todd Leary, coming to you, of course, live from Ypgi's here in Bloomington. Indiana knocks off Florida State tonight, 80-64, and a big win for Indiana as they get a win in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, which has been a tough road to hoe for Indiana these last few years. Of course, getting paired with Duke and North Carolina will do that to you. But this was a solid team, and there were a lot of questions coming in tonight, Todd, about this Indiana team because hadn't played anybody. The schedule had been weak. We knew that, but we knew that they looked good, but we didn't know what they would look like against a team that we just saw beat Purdue and Tennessee. Now we know.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a level of expectations are going to go up in a hurry. And you know they start right here with me. I mean, I was just as excited as everyone else, all the other Indiana fans were, to see, you know, what this team was going to be like against real competition. I now you know other people are going to say it was a home game, so you know they're going to discount it for that reason, and that's a factor. That's true. It's much more difficult than it would have been on the road, but I mean they answered a lot of questions. When you get off to the start that Indiana got off to, down 11-4, very difficult to score the basketball, and you're able to regain your composure. An unbelievable three-point shot made by Armand Franklin when it's 11-4 really got Indiana started, and from that point forward, they really took control of the ball game from then on.
Yeah, it's before the game started, I knew this was going to be a question of inside out. They're outside versus Indiana's inside game because we know that they like to put a lot of pressure on the ball on the perimeter. But Devontae Green, man, when he was in there, he said, not going to be a problem. Knocks it down stiff tonight. 30 points for Devontae Green.
On 15 shots.
Night, on 15
and
shots.
that's the thing. I mean, 30 points, yes. I mean, that's special. That's special.
Off the bench.
Yeah, that is. That's off the bench. In 28 minutes, he scores 30 points. So that's, obviously that's insanely awesome. But on 15 shots is the part of that, the efficiency that he had. I mean, he's 10 of 15 from the floor and 5 of 7 from three. I mean,
shot 66% from the floor.
Yeah.
Field goals. 10 of 15 overall. He was 5 of 7 from behind the arc and 5 of 7 at the free throw line, which is big because Indiana was doing what they have been doing, drawing a lot of free throws tonight, but there were some misses going on.
23 of 38 from the free throw.
Al Durham, where is he? I lost him, but
Al Durham, very top.
1 of 4 at the free throw line. And then Justin Smith, 6 of 9, not bad, but that's 66%, so got to hit one more.
You know what, though? You're right. You're totally right about that. But his free throws were at a critical time. The 6 makes he made, they were critical, and they needed him at that point in time in the game. And man, I mean, this opens the door now for we're changing the direction of what we're thinking about this Indiana team. And I jump on board just like every other fan does. But right now, my expectation level just went way up.
Yeah, Kyle asked, so what are you guys saying, top 25? Absolutely.
As long as they go to Wisconsin and win on Saturday, as long as you go there and win, I don't think it'll just be squeaking in either. I think they just beat a team that's ranked 17th handily.
If you're 8-0, which they will be if they beat...
no, they'll be 9-0, aren't they? Aren't they 8-0 now? They're 7-0 going into the game.
Yeah, so there's no way that they're not in the top 20 easily.
Yeah, I mean, I think they jump up to where Florida State is right now.
They haven't gotten the votes because people have
not played anybody. They haven't deserved the votes, and that's just fine. Like, those votes don't mean anything, and the rankings, even when they're ranked 17th, it won't mean anything. I could care less. But it's a respect factor, and it's a situation you want, people are going to take notice of this. This is the way Indiana got off to a slow start and was able to rebound, showed a ton of different things, not just to everybody else, but the coaching staff's really going to be able to analyze who took control of the basketball game when it was in the nitty-gritty. And at 11-4, there was no momentum. The place was silent. I mean, we were in there. It was. You could hear a pin drop in there. And Armand Franklin throwing down that big three-pointer as the shot clock ran down changed everything. The game completely changed from that point forward.
That's Todd Leary. I'm Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. Thanks a lot for joining us after the game with Todd Leary. Of course, coming to you live from Ypgi's here in Bloomington. Indiana takes on and defeats Florida State tonight in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, 80-64. A great night for a lot of guys. And, I just lost it. Where did I think it was Josh. Demezy Anderson's defense impressed him tonight. Night and day difference from last year. Franklin's defense and toughness was very well impressive indeed. They did do a good job on their guards, and that was going to be a big question mark coming in because they were led by they run a 3-guard offense, and they're led by their guards, and those guys didn't get it done tonight.
Yeah, well, and here's the difficulty in playing against Florida State is that they've got everybody on the floor that's relatively the same size except for one guy. So they've got 4 guys that can switch. Indiana's running that weave out front. They were barely even – Florida State was barely moving on defense. They were just switching it, letting Indiana rotate back and forth and go across it. For the first 5 minutes of the ball game, in all seriousness, Indiana didn't know how to react to it. They didn't know how to handle that or what to do, and it took them a little while to get used to it. What an awesome experience for them to be able to figure out a way to deal with that because the other teams are going to do it. Florida State's an unusual defensive team in that they can switch everybody. Like everybody on the court can switch. You saw Devontae Green being guarded by their big center at one point in time in the game, and Devontae hit a huge step-back 3 on him. And just they switch everything, and that's very difficult to play against. And I know I sound excited. I couldn't be more excited about how Indiana responded after getting off to a terrible start.
And the thing that impressed me is they only had 6 first-half turnovers, and Florida State was putting the pressure on. They were trying to do what they normally do, trying to turn you over, and they were controlling the tempo. Indiana was content playing within that tempo, but still trying to run their own game. And that's, to me, why they were able to do what they were able to do in that first half, and they were very successful in that.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana, to start the ball game, I think they were surprised at how Florida State was guarding them. And they were double-teaming. Indiana only had the one guard. Rob Finney not being available in this game, which he had a boot on, by the way, in the game. So,
cautionary.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. But, I mean, it's not a good sign. But not having him available was a huge factor. And in that second half, when it got down to a 3-point lead, Indiana's guards were tired. And the reason they were tired was because bringing the ball up the floor, you may think is just a mundane task in getting it across the half-court line, but it's not when you've got a guy that's guarding you all the way up there. And I'm telling you, it's exhausting. And that's why the coaching staff makes you play one-on-one full court in the offseason and makes you play one-on-one full court in the preseason, because it's ball games like this where you get that tired. You could physically see how tired Al Durham and Armand Franklin and Devontae Green, you could physically see how tired they were in bringing the ball up the court. And it was all because of the way Florida State, you saw what they were doing. They were double-teaming the one guy Indiana had back. That's the difference. If Rob Finney had been in there would have been 2 guards back. And it took Indiana a little while to get used to it. But the pressure, once you get the ball in bounds, Florida State basically just backs up. They really don't come and trap you.
Pressure.
Yeah, it is. They don't come and trap you. All they're trying to do, as I said this morning on our show, all they're really trying to do is make you start your offense in a different position than you're used to, with a little bit more pressure on you than you're used to, and with the shot clock having run down. Indiana's getting into their offense at like 15, 16 on the shot clock as opposed to 23 or 24, and it makes a big difference.
Who was it? Kyle that mentioned, I think, Demezy Anderson. The fact that he can play the minutes that he's playing are important minutes and contribute, that's a big jump from last year, and it shows how this team has progressed in a larger scheme, because that's somebody you definitely could not count on last year in his freshman year. But this year, Archie's putting him in there in some situations.
And he's been putting him in there, and I really can't say that, he's responded all that well. This is by far the most productivity I think we've been able to expect out of Demezy. And I think it was Kyle earlier that made the point, and it is a great point. There was 2 or 3 situations tonight, one-on-one defense, where Demezy stopped his guy from driving. There was no help. There was no one else. He moved his feet. He got his body. Something just changed. I just got a lot louder on you.
Yeah, that's all right. That was probably that.
Where there was just a lot of things that Demezy did tonight that I don't think he's shown in the past. And his minutes at 20 minutes tonight, it's probably about as much as he has played throughout his career in any one ball game. And I will guarantee you, when they go over this film and they talk about who was important in this ball game tonight, Demezy Anderson's going to be a big part of it. And I don't get to say that very often. And I couldn't have been more impressed with Demezy. Say it again.
It won't be you.
I'm the first one saying. I'm saying the coaching staff's going to be.
No, I meant about you being important.
Yeah, I am not important. Definitely not important.
Trace Jackson Davis didn't get a double-double tonight, but damn, he got close. 15 and 8. Man, okay, we've talked about him getting the double-doubles and against the competition. It was suspect, whatever. This is 15 and 8. His first true freshman game, getting real about it. This was a good team, and he had 15 and 8. There's no reason to think that is not going to continue as this season progresses and just get better.
I've laughed at people when they've said, is he a one and done? Is he, and I've been saying all year long, he's going to be here for 3 years. And I'm the first one to tell you right now, I'll be happy if he's here for 2, because what he showed, if I asked you right now, just physically, not like best, not like skill-wise, if I asked you right now who was the strongest player on the floor, I think everyone would tell you it was Trace Jackson Davis. When he got a hold of the ball, no one was getting it from him.
And the confidence he
had, it was unbelievable.
It's like
here's something I would love to. The analytics nerds that we have on the show during the day. I can't wait to ask those guys what the efficiency.
Cracking on our listeners.
No. Our guests that we have on there. I can't remember which ones are the analytics nerds that we get on there, but I love messing with them about the numbers they come up with. But they always get that stat about how many plays were run for a certain player when he was responsible for 20% of the offense or whatever it was. There was maybe 3 or 4 total plays run for Trace Jackson Davis in this game tonight. Everything else he came up with, 15 points on 5 shots. Think about that. Think about the efficiency rating you're getting from a guy who we didn't run any plays for, and he came up with 15 points and 8 rebounds. I mean, he far exceeded what I thought he was going to be able to do.
Tom's on with us. Matthew says, not a perfect on offense tonight, but this is one of the best overall defensive performances in a long time. Yeah, I've got to agree with that. I mean, they got a little sloppy in the second half. 6 first-half turnovers, ended up with 18 in the game, so they got a little sloppy.
Here's the thing, though.
There was more. They were putting a little more pressure on them.
We want them to play. Look, Indiana fans, everybody has been saying for years, we want them to play with pace. We want them to play faster. You're going to have – it's not the Bob Knight days. You're going to have to live with some mistakes. You're going to have to live with some of that stuff. Forget the 18 turnovers. Look at the fact of this team just won by 16 against a ranked opponent and did it making – I mean, they only shot 23 of 38 from the free throw line and turned it over 18 times. Like, I can't be more excited about that. I know you're going to have to live with some of those mistakes, and yes, this is the time to learn from it. It's still December the 3rd. Like, I don't want whoever's saying the defense or the offense isn't perfect, it's not even going to be close to perfect for another 2 months.
And they only put up 15 3-point shots, hitting 7 of those for 46, 47%. that is something you will take all day and twice on Sunday.
Yeah, and this is exactly the ratio it should be. You got Devontae Green shooting almost half the three-pointers. I'll take that for all day long. I mean, he shoots 7 of the 15 threes. He makes 5 of the 7 that they made. So, yeah, overall, and then, a huge three-pointer. The other 2 three-pointers that Devontae didn't make, the one was Armand Franklin that got him started at the beginning of the ball game, and the other one was Demizi Anderson's big three-pointer that took it at the end of the game when it went from like a 6-point lead or a 5-point lead to an 8-point lead. And both of those three-pointers were just one got Indiana started, and the other one shut the lights out for Florida State.
And Demizi played 20 minutes tonight,
yeah,
and only took 2 3-pointers, which means he's taking good shot selection. He's not just trying to force things up.
Here's something that looks really strange. So he only takes 3 shots. He doesn't have a rebound. He has 1 assist and 2 turnovers, and we're talking about how good he played. And I'm telling you, the stat sheet does lie sometimes. Because Demizi Anderson played a really good basketball game. The stat sheet doesn't show it, but I can assure you the coaching staff's in the locker room telling him he can feed off of what he started tonight because his minutes only continue to go up if he can play like he played tonight.
What about Armand Franklin? 9 points on 3 of 5 shooting. He was 1 of 3 from behind the arc. He was 2 of 2 at the free throw line. 23 minutes, 4 rebounds. He had an assist. 1 turnover. That's a nice little stat sheet there.
It is. 4 rebounds for your starting point guard. 3 of 5 shooting. Like I said, his three-pointer to get the game started when they're down 11-4, his three-pointer was just gigantic. And the entire basketball game changed in Indiana's favor from that point on. And you hate to give too much credit to one particular basket, but I'm telling you, the place was silent in there, and that really got Indiana going. They went on, I think, an 11-0 run from that point on that three-pointer that he made. And you can go down the list. There was a bunch of guys that made huge contributions tonight.
Yeah, but we've got to get back to Devontae Green. Off the bench, 30 points, 10 of 15 shooting, 5 of 7 behind the three-point line, 5 of 7 at the free throw line. He also had 6 rebounds and 3 assists tonight. He was a very, very busy guy and a very efficient one at that.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to make it look awesome because he's going to make the bench points look like we outscored him like crazy. But I mean, just an unbelievable. He's a starter. He's 28 minutes. He plays the second, third most minutes of anybody on the game. He is a starter. I don't care whether he comes off the bench or not. He's nice for your bench points when you can put 30 up out of one guy. But just an overall, I don't think there was any question he was the leader. He was the leader in the game tonight. When Indiana needed something, they went to him. And I think Al Durham has been that guy for Indiana for the majority of the first 7 ball games. But there wasn't any question tonight. When Indiana needed offense, they knew who to get the ball to.
Oh, without question. Chris Martin back in the house tonight here at Ypgi's. They enjoyed the game. along with Starling.
We saw them both coming in from the game.
Operations manager.
When you get management in here this late at night, you got a good establishment.
He's just back checking on things.
Well-oiled machine.
Hey, welcome back, as a matter of fact. Welcome back to Ypgi's here. We're live in Bloomington, of course, at Ypgi's in Bloomington for After the Game with Todd Leary as Indiana took on Florida State tonight in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. An 80-64 win for Indiana, a huge win. Now they've got to follow that up. I don't want to put this one away too fast. We'll talk about it a lot more on the show tomorrow. And there's a lot of questions. Robert Carter, the truth, he was simple again. 8-0, win. Just cut straight to the chase, of course. Tim, this is to Todd. Green was throwing down waterfalls.
He did. He threw a huge teardrop up there that didn't go in, but he was obviously feeling it. And I tell you what, this guy doesn't get enough credit for his ball handling. How quick was he with the ball tonight? He had some step backs. He's an exceptional offensive talent, and boy, he put it on display on national TV tonight.
Telling you, Andy Zeller says, carved it up like a tasty turkey. Yes, he did. I don't know who put that on there, but Tim was like a volcano. Is that coming from Jake? Looks like it's coming from Jake.
If that's coming from Jake, we're going to have a talk.
Dr. J's on with us. Tim says
it's like a waterfall.
IU leads the Division I in free throws made per game and free throws attempts. Yeah, that's impressive. But they've got to start making them at a little bit better clip than they did tonight.
60% is not going to win. You're not going to win these games for you. And going
it's going to lose a close game
for sure. It is. And I'll tell you what, it's a 16-point win. I'm all excited, so I'm jacked up and overlooking a lot of that. But I'm telling you, there was a big point late in this second half when I would have told you when they lose, it's going to be because of missed free throws and missed opportunities. And that first half, only being up 11, Indiana had an unbelievable opportunity to be up 16, 17, 18 points in that first half. And when they didn't do it, I didn't feel good at halftime. I was restless the whole.
It was very worse. The end of the half, that last 5 minutes, they let Florida State make a little mini run.
Yep.
And that's always dangerous because now you're giving up momentum, and then it's what you do coming out of that half. And damn it, they let them come right out, and they turned the ball over. They let them hit some threes, and they were right back in this game. This was a 3-point game very quickly.
The first 4 possessions of the second half, Florida State scored 11 points. They hit 3 threes and a dunk. And those were, they were a couple tough shots. Now, they had 2 open looks, but, they were knocking down some deep shots. You give them credit for that, yes. But to weather that storm, to be able to regain yourself. So think about this. Starting the ball game out, you dig yourself a hole, 11-4. You're able to get back out of it. You take a 11-point halftime lead in. You got to feel good about that. Then you come out in the second half, you do the same thing again. You dig yourself a hole. It is so hard to flip that momentum back around. And that's why I'm as jacked as I am right now. I'm telling you, what they did tonight is not easy, and they did it twice.
Well, he's been fired up.
I am fired up. Hey, you know what?
He hasn't been fired up like this all season. So.
I am the biggest. I try to sit. I'm a big nerd, no doubt, but I try to not get too optimistic, especially in those first 7 games, because yes, we're playing crap teams, no doubt about it, and so I try not to let myself get too amped up over it. Florida State's defense is very, very good. You just put up 80 points and missed 15 free throws against a very, very good defense. I feel pretty darn good about that. I'm pretty excited about that.
Big rebounding edge tonight, too. Indiana out-rebounds Florida State. A lot of offensively as well. Devils were big getting offensive rebounds. Marina Clarkson Hoover says, Green's three-pointers were great, but your threes were pretty amazing, too, Todd.
Oh, yeah, we're lucky to have anybody that has a memory that long. No doubt about it. But
Jim says he called it today. IU Louisville and Duke wins. Jay Reynolds, Dr. J, loving the hustle from everybody. Liam Mitchell, great IU play tonight. Yeah, it was. It was a very good team effort. And I'll tell you something else. I was a little surprised to see the rotation that we saw again still. I don't want to call people out, but there's some guys that are playing some minutes, and I'm a little surprised that they're still getting these minutes. Maybe it's because you don't have Devontae for as long as you want. Maybe it's because you don't have Rob Finney out there at all.
Yeah, right.
But
there's something we're gonna have to chalk it up to. There's something we don't understand.
Yeah,
because
when I don't know what's
when
going
your
on.
offense is really struggling. So to start that second half, my primary example. When your offense is really struggling, and the first thing you don't do is turn around and scream Devontae Green's name as loud as you can to get to the bench and check in, or get to the board and check in, like that would have been my first reaction. Probably 2 possessions down the court when we didn't score, I would have been yelling Devontae to get in there.
Is this some kind of psychological thing where you're bringing them off the bench?
Here's just, like I said.
Because I don't get it.
We're just going to have to chalk him up to something. I don't care about the bench part of it. That side of it, I don't care. I'm telling you, I'll bet you there's something goofy with a superstition. This lineup has gone 7 or 8. No, I don't care about him starting or not starting.
I don't care either.
But that second half,
I cannot believe that Archie Miller's running is on who's in the game.
I'm
right
not
now.
saying he is doing that. I'm not saying he is doing that. I'm just saying right now the Miller family is
working. Whatever
the Miller
it is,
family is like
working.
18-0 right now across the nation. So
yeah, I was going to say it's working.
Whatever they've got going, but I don't care whether he starts or doesn't start. My point is, Devontae, like I would have chased him to the scorer's table to check in that second half. 2 minutes into it.
Well, it wasn't very long, was it?
Yeah, it was longer than that would have been if I was over there.
Right, but so I forget something happened that led to that, prompted him getting in sooner than he probably wanted to put him in.
The lead went down to like 3.
Well, there's that.
But there's just I don't know. There's something to it that we just don't know. And we don't need to try to figure out. Here's the thing. He played 28 minutes. Whether he started or came off the bench, I could literally care less.
I couldn't either.
He plays
Again, he wants him in there at the end. He doesn't care about the beginning because it's actually, if you're getting by with what you had and they were, then all of a sudden you bring him in. That's like bringing somebody in and punching you in the face.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
I mean, it's like it's the third round of a boxing match.
Look at what happened in that game. Look at what happened
legs.
in that game. It was 11-4 to start the game in Florida State's favor. They subbed 4 guys. They sent 4 guys to the table to check in, and then they didn't score for 4.5 minutes. There was a big drop-off once they brought in their rotation of guys coming in. Yes, they're a deep team. Yes, they put a lot of pressure on you. So they got to put a lot of people in there. Johnny G was at the game tonight. I saw it.
Was he?
He was at the game. But there was a huge drop-off offensively for Florida State when they had to sub guys out, especially when Walker went out because he got off to a hot offensive start. But when Indiana brought guys in, look at what they did. They brought a guy in that scored 30, and he outscored their bench times 7. So overall, you
rock, Johnny G.
What's that?
I'm just talking to the fans.
JC, you rock. Oh, my gosh.
As they're talking to you as we go by. It's right, I do. Victor Oladipo was imitating Green tonight on the floor. That was pretty funny to see him.
He kept imitating his layups.
Yeah. Tony LeMaster says hey to you. Johnny G is on here. Tim Tebow. Kelly Martin, hey.
Big time.
Tony LeMasters. I think they all played tough overall. Josh says TJD looking like a freaking gazelle out there on the floor taking to the rim on the dunk. Man, he is
that
impressive.
One-handed dunk. I'm telling you, does no one else see a little bit of Karl Malone in him?
The other night, the one he missed, it was impressive. And he missed the daggone thing. And it looked good.
Did he miss a dunk?
The other night, remember the one?
Oh, yeah.
He couldn't get it down. He got fouled, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's just – I'm telling you, he grabbed a couple of rebounds tonight when guys would go up for it, and he got 2 hands on the ball.
Yeah, Alan says the same thing.
They'd have had a better chance getting vice grips out there, getting that thing away from him.
Keep Dockage out of the commentary. Oh, well, he's not on with us, man. So you're good there, Tony. No.
What's wrong?
He said keep Dockage out of the commentary. I said don't worry, I got Leary here.
Hey, Danny knows what he's talking about. Danny is one of the smartest commentators there is.
Yeah,
if you really listen to what he says and you know, not so much just how he's trying to irritate people.
Pete, my buddy Pete Clausen asking about Rob Fennessy's health. Man, we don't know. I'm gonna be honest.
We don't. Indiana's so tight to the vest over injuries and things like that. He came out in a boot tonight. We can tell you that. He wasn't dressed. Obviously didn't warm up. Didn't do any of that. I thought they held him out of the last ball game just probably as a precautionary issue. I think we can all say that's not the case anymore. So I think it'll be game by game, and none of us will really know until he actually comes. The next time he's out there warming up, he'll be playing.
Kyle says hopefully the home games this year stays as electric as it was tonight.
Yeah, that one was legit.
That goes a long way.
Fans
Let me tell you, that goes a long way.
It really does.
Because you can tell the difference in that the atmosphere tonight.
Yeah.
It was the first time this season where it felt like Assembly Hall.
Well, yeah. I mean, yes, of course. But, I mean, look at the difference. Other than the very first ball game where everybody is just so excited to finally have basketball season here, you know, I mean, that's really the first opportunity fans have had to really get into it. I mean, this is the other games are just
I have to ask Landon's question. Does anyone else get nervous when Hunter and Anderson are handling the ball?
I do.
That's why I was laughing when I saw that.
Yeah. I don't know if you're setting me up to get in trouble on that one, Landon, or what. But yes, I definitely do. And I'm, I will say though, generally with Demizi, I want him to get rid of it as quickly as possible. And tonight, I would not necessarily say that was the case.
And he got entrapped in one time where he ended up turning the ball over, but he did not panic. He didn't make a bad mistake.
It wasn't a turnover for a layup. It wasn't a turnover for a layup.
He didn't make it worse. He took his lumps and waited and waited.
I'm still waiting for Hunter to get more comfortable. I don't. Jerome Hunter does not look comfortable to me. He doesn't look like he's good into the flow. Demizi tonight. Demizi looked like he was back in high school tonight. To be honest with you, like he looked comfortable out on the court. He looked like he wanted the ball. He looked like he wanted to be a part of things. I think he really overall felt like he was a big part of it. And this could be gigantic for a kid's confidence. Like if they've got another guy off the bench they can count on to come in. His defense was just super solid tonight, really solid. Be surprised if we don't hear the coaching staff talk something about that. But then we know we can count on him to make a shot here and there.
Richard talking about they were able to play slow or play fast tonight. They were able to withstand Florida State's attempt at controlling the pace, which they did, and I mentioned it earlier, but they played within that framework, and they ran their offense to how they wanted it to run. They did not let Florida State dictate what they wanted to do on offense. They may have dictated the tempo a little bit.
Yeah, they did, and how they do it, like I said earlier, how they do it is they put two guys that guard the inbounds pass, and really, they're not really trying to steal it. I mean, yes, they would love to steal it, but they're not expecting to steal it. All they're expecting to do is slow you down, and it works to perfection. You could watch the guys out there. They were very seldom, I think maybe only 2 times in the entire ball game did they actually come and set a trap. Most of the time they were just kind of there showing the token pressure. And in Indiana, I think it took them I know it took them a little bit of time to get used to it. It's so much easier to be up in the stands and be looking high, looking down, and see the kind of fake pressure, but when you're down there with the ball and you got a 6'8" guy kind of faking at you, it doesn't look as fake as it does when you're up in the stands. It's a lot easier to armchair quarterback it sitting up there knowing that guy's not going to come and help. But you know, it took them some time to get used to it. But once they did, I didn't think the pressure was near as big a factor in the 18 turnovers.
Josh brings up Justin Smith playing tough tonight. He did have a solid game tonight, and Trace Jackson-Davis is definitely the guy that's going to drive that train down along. I think that is more than evident now. His confidence is there, and Justin Smith can be a really nice complementary piece, especially if he plays the complementary piece.
I mean, 14 points on 7 shots, 14 points and 5 rebounds out of Justin Smith. Yes, of course I'll take that.
All day long.
That's an ideal statistic. Now, the 0 for 1 from the three-point line. You know how I am with him. I tend to forget all about him once he starts taking three-pointers.
If he had taken that shot, would that be a perfect night for him?
If he had taken that shot, I would have said he had a fantastic game. It truly, one possession can affect my thought process on how you play. It really can. But overall,
how do you like to be me, folks?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you like to live with this?
Ask one dumb question.
How the wind blows? Oh my God! Oh, you said that. Oh,
but listen to this. This was I truly had this thought at the beginning of the game. His first interaction in the ball game was a putback basket. He did a great job just getting in there and getting his hand up and tipping the ball in, and that is Justin Smith to a T. That's an offensive rebound, putback basket when Indiana was struggling to score.
And I'll tell you something else. He had a dunk in the second half.
Oh, yeah.
Coming from the side. To me, though, that is confidence gained from watching Trace Jackson-Davis play like that every freaking play. And it is. Because last year, how many times did we see Justin Smith do that? But it would be him trying to lay it up.
And here's the difference. Here's the difference in Justin Smith is there's very few guys that are capable of dunking that ball. Trace Jackson-Davis would be another one. But even on Indiana's team, I would say those are the only 2 guys capable of dunking that ball. And I know Florida State guy thought he was going to lay it in. Otherwise, he never would have jumped and put his arm up there because he got straight dunked on. And there's just very few guys who are capable of making that play. It tells you the confidence level Justin Smith is at because he didn't even begin to look at laying that ball in. And he turned to dunk it from the beginning.
And if he gets that confidence level going, he can be dangerous because that's what everybody's been waiting for with this 6'8" body and his 48-inch vertical leap and this athletic specimen that he is.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for those very things for him to have that aggression instead of laying it up, to throw it down, to do it with authority, because not only does that score, obviously, but you're sending a message. When you do that 2-3 times in a row, man, they're not going to keep going up at you when you keep throwing it down.
So Trace Jackson-Davis is by far the most complete big man Indiana has. With that, there's not even a question. But Justin Smith has the capability of doing things that Trace Jackson-Davis can't do. And he's that athletic. And there's not very many guys across the country that you can say that about. I truly believe the ways he can affect the game. His stat line is awesome, but he can affect the game in so many different ways that has nothing to do with what's on that stat sheet. And when he's doing that, there was a bunch of times tonight I really thought he did it. He had a huge block. Trace Jackson-Davis had a huge block tonight. That's a big momentum changer, and you know, I could go on and on. I was just overly impressed with so many different performances out of guys tonight. My expectation level just skyrocketed.
Mark says, I like it in the second half, midway when they were up 3 points, they could have give up. They picked up the pace and intensity and put the game away. Yeah, that was the problem. They were letting Florida State make that run, and there's been many times where we've seen them kind of fold. And
that's why I thought the free throws were going to be that big of an issue. I really thought the free throws were going to be, if they lost, it was going to be the reason why they lost. And you know, I was even in my own mind, I was sitting there saying, hey, I'm going to turn this into a positive to where they played with a team that's a ranked opponent. They show the capability of being able to play with them, and they missed free throws, and that's what cost them the game. And fortunately for me, I get to be super excited because they rebounded and were able to flip things back around and made enough free throws to hang around and just made some gigantic shots. Like there's some guys, Devontae Green just made some shots that were just, this is a 16-point win, but take that away. This is like an 8-point win.
He made
for
shots
Indiana.
that last year he shot those shots and everybody was like, oh, man, come on.
Here's the thing, though. Last year, think about this, though. Last year when he takes those shots, he feels like he's the third best option on the floor. You got Romeo and Juwan.
Well, he probably felt he was number one option.
But I'm telling you, in his mind, he knows the coaching staff thinks he's the third option. The fans think he's the third best option. As a scorer, you're always going to think you're the number one option. I played with Calbert Chaney, and I felt like I was the number one option. Okay, I mean that's how unrealistic you can be. But I'm telling you now, there's zero doubt. I mean, if you've got one guy to take a three-pointer right now, who do you want it to be? Every one of us in the gym is going to answer the same thing, and that is a gigantic difference to a kid who his entire life has been a scorer.
And it's got to be extremely gratifying to Hoosier fans because coming into this season, everyone knew that Devontae Green was going to be looked at as being the guy that scores, as being the scorer, as being the guy with the ball in his hands. And there was a lot of concern because we've seen Devontae when he can be Devontae. But we saw a different Devontae toward the end of last season. And boy, oh boy, have we seen that and more so far in this season. And tonight, 30 points, a career high. What a huge night for him. And efficient, like you said, off the bench. He only played 26 minutes. But, man, when he was in there, did he light it up?
And he was the guy that everyone looked to. And when there's 17,000 people in there, and we all want Devontae to shoot, and we know when he knows that the other four guys on the court are looking for him to score baskets. Look at this. This kid has grown up his entire life and probably led every team he's ever played on in scoring until he got to IU. Like, he's a scorer. There's no two ways about it. He's not a defender. He's not a rebounder. He's not a ball handler. I mean, he's great with the ball. But his number one thing he's always done, and I never watched him play a game in high school or younger. I'm just telling you, you can look at his game and you can tell he has always been a scorer. And now he's finally in the role that is the most comforting to him and where he feels the best out there on the court.
Had a couple people say the same thing Kelly says. It's starting to look more like Hoosier basketball than it has in a while. Man, it doesn't take much to get the fans fired up. A good win over a good team.
Just look at me. I mean, I'm like a child out here.
I try
right
not
now.
to if I can keep from it.
And that's a good idea. That's the plan. But man, just it's exciting. It's exciting for them to be able to translate this. I am telling you, I've watched a lot of early season basketball. I've watched the Dukes, Kentuckys, Michigan States, Michigan. I've watched a lot of teams play early in this year. And Florida State is a very, very difficult team to play against. I'm not going to say they're great, but I am going to say they're a very difficult team to play against. And Indiana just executed to, I don't want to say to perfection, but they really executed well enough to win a basketball game that I'm not sure we all thought they could win.
Yogi's is starting to fill back up, man. Starting to fill back up as the game has gotten over. People coming in.
Even though late night.
They want to hear. They want to be a part of after the game.
It's about to be Wednesday, and people are still walking in the door.
Landon Martin, how many turnovers did Devontae have? Devontae had 4 turnovers tonight.
He did.
Probably one more than he'd like to have seen. But
probably 3 more than you'd like to see out of him. But, hey, here's the thing. Look at how much he had the ball in his hands. And you know, Al Durham had the ball in his hands a ton. Armand Franklin had the ball in his hands a ton. And Devontae had the ball in his hands a ton. Those guys are going to have more turnovers.
Hello, Robert, the Truth Carter.
That's just something you got to – it is so difficult for me to translate from my old school basketball of every turnover is terrible. But when you want them to play at the pace that we want this team to play at, they're going to turn it over from time to time, and you've got to live with it. My sons would be punching me in the face right now if they heard me say that, because I never accepted any turnovers.
Can I punch you for
when
him?
I coached them? You may not. But this is just what we've got to live with a little bit of it. And overall, with the ability to come back and rebound from making those mistakes and turnovers, like you said earlier, you made a good point for once. I was pretty impressed with this. Is sometimes turnovers, there's a better turnover than another. And when you don't turn it over for easy lay-ins, to start the basketball game, we saw Florida State running down the court, lay it in a couple times. And after that, all the turnovers were kind of dead ball turnovers, and that's a much better situation.
Yeah, they got their heads back to themselves. Let's see, where's Andy Zellers? Duke's about to smoke MSU by almost 20. Glad we're not playing them again. You know what? It won't be long. You talk about rankings before Indiana is ranked higher than Michigan State, because Michigan State's going to continue to drop. That'll be their third loss at least already.
Here's the funny part, though. Like, that's not even crazy in everyone's eyes. The only crazy part is they were ranked number 1 to start the year. Michigan State always starts out this way. I mean, maybe not 3 losses by December the 3rd, but they always start out with a couple of losses that you're just kind of like, that's not a normal Tom Izzo team. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute, yeah, it is, because by the middle of February on, they don't lose any more games, and it's just kind of their MO. It's kind of what they do.
Victor approved. That's right. He was there, Lisa. Let's see. Tony says, I think it was right at the 6-minute mark when IU started controlling the game. I don't know which side of the ball you're talking about at 6 minutes, but
yeah, I mean, probably with about 6 minutes to go in the first half. I mean, Indiana had kind of established themselves at that point, and like I said, they got off to such a bad start. I mean, I'm telling you, 11-4. I truly was looking up at the clock thinking, this is what in the world are we going to talk about? Because we're going to have to try to put a positive spin on something, because it was going to get ugly.
Dale Davis was in the house.
Was he? Well, he got to watch a good performance out of his son.
Landon says they took the bigs out of the game and spread the floor. They had all 5 on the outside of the 3-point line, creating driving lanes and keeping IU from help side without being penalized. Man, you're really getting in there deep. Really getting analyzed there. Landon doing a great job. Archie would have called a timeout when they were knocking down the threes and turning the ball over. They were doing it. I did notice that early on. Florida State did a good job of taking away the lanes at times, but Indiana seemed to adjust and find a way to get to the rack and draw a foul or hit a shot. And that's something that I didn't see this team do last year, was make a lot of adjustments that were positive. This tonight I did see that.
Yeah, there's been criticism. There's no doubt about it. There's been criticism of the adjustments and of the lack of adjustments. And here's where I think that gets overlooked. So what we've done all 40 minutes long so far talking, or all I've done, is sit here and give these players a bunch of credit. And what about the fact of, you make a great point there, Landon, and there was a timeout called after they got off to a great start. There was also a timeout called after the second half good start by Florida State. And you look at that and you think of the adjustments that were made. Indiana really, really struggled to handle all the switching that Florida State was doing on the ball screens and the weave that was going on in the first half. They really struggled with how to handle that. And that lasted for about 4 or 5 minutes. And after that, Indiana kind of figured out a way to move the ball, get Florida State a little bit out of position, and drive the ball to the basket. They got some easy looks, they got some layups, and they got Florida State in foul trouble. Sending Walker to the bench with his second foul with 12 minutes to go in the first half was a big factor. And he was the guy that was scoring the basketball for him to start the game. And they pick up his second foul just on driving the ball to the basket. So I don't know that we're giving enough credit to the adjustments that were made by the coaching staff.
Well, it's funny you say that, because right on cue, Suzanne was talking about impressive coaching tonight. Lisa said positive about the coaches. Josh has been on me, saying that it's a matter of time before it comes together. And they did look good tonight. I mean, you got to give it to Archie. He had them ready. They were prepared for this team to play this style and to be able to withstand what they were going to do, and they did just that. And they didn't let it take them out of their game, and still it was able to play their game. Last year, a team like this would have taken Indiana completely out of the game, and they never would have gotten back, and this would have been a completely different result.
Yep.
Tonight, completely different. Indiana withstood whatever Florida State threw at them and worked it into what they wanted to do, both offensively and defensively. And you got to just take your hat off to Archie Miller and this entire team.
Yeah, I mean, they made the adjustments. Indiana made the adjustments that they had to. And, yes, there were some things that Florida State did that, I don't want to say caught Indiana off guard, but made Indiana have to call a timeout, make some adjustments, do some things a little bit differently. And they did that. And they were able to come back out on the floor and I'm going to say impose their will on Florida State. And they put up 80 points against a very, very good defensive team.
That allows about 60 a game.
Yeah, and missed 15 free throws. Think about that. I mean, 15 free throws. This could have been a 90. Now, they had a guy throw in 30 points. I mean, they had Devontae Green throwing in some 35-footers towards the end of the ball game. But you got to factor everything in together.
But they only shot 15 threes, so
right.
Yeah, they're not out there just cranking it up trying to score. They scored the old-fashioned way. They had a lot of threes the old-fashioned way, getting it at the free throw line.
Yeah, I mean that Indiana's 80 is easily the most points that's been scored against them this year. They did give up 74 points to West Carolina, which must have just been a bad game for them. But other than that, every game is like 65, 56, 57, 60. Like they're just a team. I mean, they gave up 60 points to Purdue, and that was through overtime. So Indiana's ability to score 80 against a team like that is it's just that much more impressive.
Alan says, when it comes to the minutes, I never agreed with it dropping off as drastically as you guys said that it would. Changed slightly, yes, and I haven't seen it. Looked at the minutes. No, they haven't changed yet. Like that, I still think that they're going to. I think.
Well, once you got to add one more player in there. I mean, once Rob Finney's in there,
but I think you're going to take one player out.
You're going to be deleting some minutes. Yes. Armand Franklin's 23 minutes that he played tonight will be more like 16 or 17, in my opinion.
Jerome
Hunter's 16. Yeah, Joey Brunk played 16 minutes tonight. So you got 25 minutes between Joey Brunk and Race Thompson. You know, I mean, that's probably what that position's going to have. Yeah, I mean, Jerome Hunter played 7 minutes tonight. I would say that if you had Rob Finney in the game tonight, you might not have seen Deron Davis or Jerome Hunter play in the ball game tonight. I wouldn't come off my statement of that.
Kelly says we seem more excited about the team in the season. Heck yeah, man! It's a lot more fun when the games are fun.
We seem. So did 17,000 other people that were in there tonight.
Scott Laskowski, how you doing, brother? Tim says
Laz is up. Start churning that.
The young one. Don't worry, it's the young one.
I got you. He makes the butter burgers.
Time to make the donuts.
Time to make the butter burgers.
Tim says ESPN not giving IU any respect, showing highlights from all the other games, but nothing in IU.
They just showed it. It's right above your head. I just saw it.
So there you go, Tim. You missed it. Sorry. Jennifer says no. No.
What's wrong?
She says his docket's better than Walton.
Yes.
No.
Oh my gosh, that's not even remotely close.
This thing would have been with Rob.
Better at what?
What would that game have been like? What would that game have been like with Rob Finney?
It would have been. It would have been definitely better in Indiana's favor. Rob Finney would have made a gigantic.
And that's scary.
It really is. It really is. That's what I mean. Like I'm
playing without him. How much confidence are they getting playing without him? Playing like this well against a team this good. This is a good defensive team. They've already won games. They're gonna win games this year. And to play like they did tonight, especially after being questioned with those first 6-7 games, people are like, yeah, you're not playing anybody. That's got to feel real good to those guys to come out and just punch a team like this right in the face.
It really does. I mean, Rob Finney, here's something you got to factor into this is, yes, Indiana is going to be better when Rob Finney is able to be on the floor. But think about Rob Finney. We were super impressed with him in the games that he did get to play in at his ability to score the basketball. I talked about it numerous times where I think he played more like a two-guard when he came into the ball game. We know he can handle the ball. We know he can run the offense. I was super impressed with his ability to score the basketball. So think about adding him to this. He's watching what Indiana's doing right now, and he wants to up his level of play. He wants to be better also. So what he could add more to what they're already doing right now, they could be scary good. They really, I'll go out there on a limb that much, and I'll say, my expectation. I've said it several times already. I know you're tired.
And they were running a two-guard offense tonight for at least for most of the time when I was looking out there. While Florida State was running a 3-guard, Archie normally runs a 3-guard set. Is that something they get back to when Rob Finney comes back and running Al and Devontae out there?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't honestly, I don't ever look at it that way. I don't ever look at 2-guard, 1-guard, 2-guard, 3-guard, because I hate to kind of use this term because I know what you're going to say when I do, but it's almost like positionless where they're out there. Where, who would you say is Indiana's point guard? I mean, who is
right now?
Yeah, who is their point guard?
They don't have one. They're
interjecting. What would Armand Franklin be then if he's not a point guard?
Well, I'm just saying
he's not a shooting guard.
But that's not his.
So what would he be?
Position that he plays, but he may be playing that position now. Him and Al Durham both kind of rotating in and out of that, and then you get the ball in Devontae Green's hands a lot.
Al Durham. Al Durham has the ball in his hands just as much.
Al Durham and
all three of those guys have the ball in their hands a ton. Who would you say is I don't think you could say any of them are the point guard. I don't think you could say any of them are the 2-guard. You can definitely say Devontae is the shooting guard. End of story. Well, nobody will disagree with that. But I don't think you could say anybody else is the true point guard. I don't look at it 1-guard, 2-guard, 3-guard offense. I just look at it as the lineup that's out there on the court.
The crowd was ready. Yes, it was, Sarah. You're not lying about that.
The crowd was awesome. The announcers talking about how loud that place was. It's so... it gives you a good feeling as an Indiana fan to finally have everybody talking about the Assembly Hall and being back into.
Tim said that Archie talked about Rob Finney being back at practice yesterday and turned his ankle in one of the drills. So, it's always something. It's crazy to see that. But what's up with Bob Knight coming to a basketball game, Robert? Well, we'll see about that.
Can we just be excited about the game tonight?
I'm sure that'll happen.
He will come to a game this year. I'm telling you right now, you can mark my words, he will be at a game this year.
Cheryl Star Sizemore, how are you doing? I'm not going to disagree. Maybe he wanted to see how they responded. You could be right. Hey, Sandra Hauser, how are you? Richard says, how much do you get hyped to play in the hall? People mentioned how the place was electric tonight. And...
Huh?
Read that. If he's saying all the contrary.
Assembly Hall.
That mix, how hard is it to sit? Yeah, it was just a great environment tonight. It was good to see the students back. It was good to see the excitement back. It was good to see just that environment being a game like it should be, a nationally televised game. And there's a reason it was a 9 o'clock game. Nobody likes 9 o'clock games, but there's a reason it's a 9 o'clock game because it's a big game. It's a Florida State team that just coming off of wins over Purdue, over Tennessee, and Indiana hasn't beaten anybody yet. And here's your shot, and you're on national TV, and they do exactly what they should have done. They won the way they should have.
Well, here's the thing: ESPN is going to make up for all the years they were too afraid to schedule IU for 9 o'clock games when Coach Knight was there because they were too afraid he'd throw a fit about it. So, you look at
Tim gave me permission to punch you, by the way.
What's that?
Tim gave me permission to punch you, by the way.
Yeah, Tim and I got some issues to talk about. But, here's the thing. Think about this. Off the top of your head right now, how many college basketball arenas can you name? Like name the name of them. Rupp Arena, Cameron Indoor Stadium,
Yum Center.
What everybody knows Assembly Hall.
That one up north here a little bit, where they play.
Mackey Arena.
Yeah, that place.
Nationally, though, I bet if you just ask the average person, and I'm not discounting it. I will tell you right now, to this day, I just came out of an insanely loud Assembly Hall. And I will tell you, Assembly Hall has never been as loud as Mackey Arena gets. Mackey Arena is the loudest arena in college basketball, bar none. I've been to Cameron Indoor Stadium numerous times. It's not even close. Mackey Arena is that loud. It really is.
Lightning comes down.
No, I'm telling you, it's that loud. But I'll say this: if you go nationally, you go to Arizona.
Next to you when this lightning comes down.
You go to Arizona, and you ask a basketball fan to name arenas. Mackey Arena is not going to be in the top 5 or 10 that they name. Assembly Hall will be.
It won't be in the top 50.
Rupp Arena will be.
Yeah.
Cameron Indoor Stadium will be. So when someone asks you the question of, what's Assembly Hall like for opposing teams to come in, here's what I always like to do. Jessica always knows I do this. So you do this from now on. Fans, when you're at Assembly Hall, do this. When they play that video at the beginning, watch the opposing team. Watch how many of their managers, coaches, and players who are not directly within the eyesight of the coach talking to them, their head coach talking to them, watch them all look around the stadium, look up at the monitor, watch the video, watch everything. They're trying to take everything in because they've watched Assembly Hall since they were a kid. They know how big of a deal it is for them to be there. They know it's national TV. And for a team like Florida State, they're probably never going to have the opportunity to play in there again.
Richard says that he thinks Bronco play more when they get into Big Ten play, banging, because that's a lot more beating and banging going on. And we'll certainly see that on Saturday when the Hoosiers travel to the barn.
Now they got to put it on the road. Now I said this earlier today on our daily show, is they've got 6 games coming up here that are very important before the January, the meat and potatoes of the Big Ten Conference starts. The most important of those 2 games. Yes, this one here tonight gave us the first look at what they can do against big time talent. The most important 2 games are the Nebraska and Wisconsin game, because those are your conference games. So I know I grew up in the era of no game's more important than another. That's not true if you want to win the Big Ten. And if you want to get a good seed in the Big Ten tournament, I'm already going to put it out there. Indiana will be in the top 3 in the Big Ten tournament this year. Yes, they will. After tonight, I'm putting it out there right now.
When you say they'll be in the top 3, they'll be seated in the top 3?
They'll be seated in the top 3. If they don't win the Big Ten outright, they will be seated in the top 3. Write it down. Write it down. It's December 3rd. It's It's December 4th, 12:15 a.m. Mark it down.
Marked down. We'll see.
They looked. That's how impressed. That's how impressed I am. Now, if they go on the road and lay an egg, I will beat them down Saturday just as much as I'm pumping them up right now.
Now they've got to go.
Now they got to go on the road and do it in an environment.
Take all this.
All they're going to do is hear how good they are. All they're going to do from all the us's of the world is hear about how good they are. Tomorrow in class, everybody's going to tell them how great they played, what a big win it is, and all that. Then Friday, they're going to board a plane. They're going to go up to the frozen tundra up there in the middle of nowhere. They're going to eat bad food and stay at a terrible hotel. The place sucks up there. It's terrible. And then they're going to go play in an arena that's not near as bad as coming into Assembly Hall for opponents, but it's not great. They've got Badgers have a good fan base up there.
And Indiana always draws a crowd.
And Indiana historically has struggled.
Well, they've struggled there, but also Indiana draws the crowd. Whenever Indiana goes someplace, they've got that target on the back. Even if they're not having the great season, it doesn't matter.
Hey, people love kicking. People want to kick them while they're down, no doubt. Coming off of this win, hey, Wisconsin's not had a terrific start to their year either. I mean, they've been up and down quite a bit. This is a big game for them. This is a good opportunity for them to get off to a great start in the Big Ten as well. So it'll be a battle, and there's no doubt about it.
Don't forget to join us tomorrow each and every day on Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. You can join us live at 9 o'clock, of course. IndianaSportsBeat.com, depending on where you are on radio. You can find us there.
9 o'clock Eastern?
9 o'clock Eastern, of course. 9 o'clock.
Some of us don't live
9
in
o'clock
Eastern.
American time.
Yeah, I know it.
For the rest of us Americans.
8 o'clock Kentucky time, unfortunately.
I wouldn't know about that.
Yeah, I do.
Anyway, you can find us on any place you find a podcast. You can find us at IndianaSportsBeat.com, of course. Just look it up on IndianaSportsBeat.com, and you can find us anywhere you need to. Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, all that good stuff.
IndianaSportsBeat.com. That's the place to go. That way, when you send us a text in, I can reply to it right away.
And it's the easiest way to get to us. But all right, so Indiana now, they have to go on the road. They have to match the intensity. They played
big game.
I'm not going to say they played 2 perfect halves, because they didn't.
They definitely did.
They let the half get away at the end of the first half, and they weren't ready to play at the start of the second half. But for the most part, they played 2 good halves. If you took a 5-minute section out of each one, they played very well, I think, on both sides.
Agree. Here's something they did in both halves that's even more impressive, in my opinion, is kind of got off to a bad start, and they were able to come back from that. That's one of the most difficult things to do. When momentum is on the other team's side, when momentum is in their favor, to flip that around is not easy to do, and they did it twice.
Absolutely, and we've seen them so many times not be able to do that, not hit
It's
the
that
shots.
hard. It's that hard.
To not make the mistakes, to not turn the ball over. And yet, although they did have quite a few turnovers in the second half, they went from 6 in the first half to 18 total. So they got a little sloppy with the ball. Of course, Florida State had a lot to do with that. They were ramping up the pressure even a little bit more in that second half. But Indiana withstood those volleys.
When you're playing against a team that's a high possession team that likes to run up and down and score tons of points, it's kind of easier to regain your composure and your momentum because you could come down and knock a couple shots down and all of a sudden things change. When you're playing a team like Florida State, it's even that much more difficult. They're a very low possession type team to play against, and defensively they're strong. They slow it down, they slow you down, so it's even that much more impressive to me that they were able to do that twice in one ballgame.
Absolutely. I'm very impressed with this team tonight. We just wondered there were a lot of questions. We wondered how they were going to respond, and man, I got to tell you, the fact that a lot of things that we talked about, them coming back from adversity when they got down a little bit, that was big for this team, not once but twice. And that shows growth, it shows maturity. They played mature tonight. They didn't take too many three-point shots. They turned the ball over a little too much in the second half, but again, there's other things to go into that.
And they had some performances out of guys that kind of answer a question of, how deep's the bench going to be? What are we going to be able to expect out of Demezi? I mean, I'm expecting a lot more out of Demezi now after this ball game. And yes, it can change that quickly. It truly can. Confidence is an immeasurable thing. It's not on the stat sheet. There's nothing you can call it. It's just your confidence can really change the way you do every single thing on the floor. And this tonight for Demezi and the team in general is big. To be able to have a guy like that to come off the bench is big.
I've never seen him look that comfortable.
Totally agree.
I mean, he looked like he was.
It's usually kind of a hot potato with him, especially when they get pressure on the ball. He's kind of trying to get rid of it as fast as possible. And I'm telling you tonight, he wasn't that way.
A little bit of the deer in the headlight look.
Yeah.
Did not have that at all tonight. He was, like I said, the one time where he turned the ball over, where he couldn't get rid of the ball, he didn't panic. He didn't make a bigger mistake.
Yeah.
He didn't compound it.
Right.
He just took his lumps and ate it, and that's what you want a mature guy to do.
It's like a quarterback throwing the ball away.
Exactly.
It's like a third down when you really need the first down, and you're going to take a sack, or you can't do that. You can't keep the clock running or whatever, and to have the composure to throw the ball away and just live to fight another day, I would say that's pretty comparable to what he was able to do tonight.
Absolutely. We appreciate everybody joining us tonight. We had a ton of people on, man.
I could talk
great.
all night. People, I appreciate you.
Trust me, I know you can.
I know, everybody knows that. I love to hear myself talk.
But we want to thank everybody. Thank Nathan Finney, the entire Finney hospitality group.
Yogi's is hopping at 12:30 at night. Yogi's is hopping. Where is everybody at? Do these people not sleep? What is going on around here? I'm usually 3 hours deep into sleep right now.
That's why we're here, man.
What is happening?
That's why we're here.
Yogi's
gotta make it happen.
legit.
But we appreciate everybody. Make sure you come out to Yogi's in Bloomington whenever you get a chance. If you're not from Bloomington, stop by either before
Have the mini
or
corn
after
dogs.
a game.
Have the mini corn dogs.
You have the mini corn dogs. I'm going to have the chicken tenders.
Chicken tenders are probably the best thing on the menu.
With the ranch, the Cajun ranch. That's my jam right there, man. But we'll be back tomorrow, of course, at 9 a.m. live,
Eastern.
or you can listen to us, American. You can listen to us anytime. You can catch us any place that you find a podcast. Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, iHeart, Radio, all that stuff. We're ubiquitous. We're everywhere. IndianaSportsBeat.com is the easiest place to find us, though. But we're on radio stations around as well again. So, but until tomorrow morning when we're back at it, we'll be back, of course, for after the game Saturday as Indiana travels to Wisconsin, to Madison to take on Wisconsin in the game. That's going to be a test because that's going to be a road test for Indiana. They haven't played anything close to a road game this year, really.
Yeah. No, they have not. They've not left the confines of Assembly Hall, and it'll be a big deal. I mean, this is a big time game.
Well, it opens up conference play.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
so you have a chance to be 1-0, which I know it sounds stupid, but 1-0 is big in the Big Ten.
It is. Winning these two games, like I don't know whose idea this was to throw two conference games into the early December schedule, but it's stupid and it's terrible, and I don't understand why they do it. But they do it, so let's just get over it, or I'll get over it, and we'll just talk about how important this game is because it's a big deal to get off to a good start. And if Indiana, think about it, Nebraska's struggling a little bit. They're going to be coming in here a week from now. Yeah. So you kind of got to expect to win that game. If you win this game and you start these 3 tough game schedules out 3-0,
then you're 12-0 as a team. You're 2-0 in the Big Ten. I mean,
then you go wax Notre Dame. I mean, I've got us ranked 7th right now. I'm putting us as 7th.
Last question of the night. Richard says, in your opinions, can we play against a running team and then against a systematic, slow team? Has Archie shown their preparation? I think so. I think that's exactly what they showed tonight because we've seen Indiana push the tempo themselves. And we saw them get controlled a little bit but play within that bounds tonight.
I think Indiana is more comfortable playing up tempo and fast, going up and down the court. Tonight, I think they showed the ability to adjust because they were still trying to play fast. They weren't able to accomplish it.
Well, the key to me is playing good defense.
It is, and being able to get out and run, get rebounds and get out and run. Now, Florida State makes that insanely difficult because the outlet pass, so even when you stop them and you get a rebound, the outlet pass that goes out, Florida State guards that guy. Not very many other teams do that. Purdue does it from time to time. Not very many other teams do that. And all that's doing is slowing the pace down. They're not trying to steal it. They don't think they're going to steal it from you. All they're trying to do is slow you down. And that was accomplished tonight. And, you asked the question, Richard asked the question, can they play with that? I think Indiana's much more comfortable playing fast. They just put up 80 and missed 15 free throws against a team that's going to, in their own conference play, give up under 70 points a game for sure. So I feel great about their ability to play slow also.
I was very impressed with what I saw tonight.
Yep. Good question, though, Richard.
Yeah, especially from playing outside of their own comfort
Richard's
level.
lobbing me some softballs up there for me to.
Somebody's got to do.
Yep.
You got to do. Hey, we think again. I appreciate everybody joining us. We appreciate joining us here tonight live from Ypgi's.
Dwayne, we were worried about you.
Who's that?
He checked in at the end.
I know he got a little late, man. A little late. I'm glad you checked in. But he can watch the show all day long.
You can rewatch it.
But
doesn't everybody rewatch it?
Make sure you join us on Indiana Sports Beat with Todd Leary tomorrow morning live at 9, or you can listen to it anytime you like. But we appreciate everybody. Make sure you stop by Ypgi's whenever you get a chance. We'll be back tomorrow with Indiana Sports Beat in the morning, and then of course Saturday night after Indiana takes on Wisconsin, we're back after the game as well. So for Todd Leary, I'm Jim Coyle. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you on the radio.